Picture this. It's 2 a.m. in Bristol, Connecticut. The ESPN studios are quiet, but one man's thumbs are moving at lightning speed. It's a Woj bomb. Adrian Wojnarowski has tweeted a major NBA trade is going down. Within seconds, the sports world explodes. If you don't know Adrian Wojnarowski, then you are not a fan of basketball. I'm not sure if he also comments on football, but I know when Woj was tweeting something about basketball, it was a guarantee that it was happening. People used to stay up for Woj rounds. Unfortunately, Woj retired. We got Shams now. There's really only been one Shams bomb. That was with Luka, but I'm rambling right now. But have you ever stopped to ask how? How does one man know what's happening in a closed door meeting in Los Angeles while he's sitting in a hotel room in New York? The answer is access. In the world of the NBA, access is the only currency that matters. If you have the phone numbers of the GMs and the agents, you're a king. If you don't, you're just a fan with a laptop. But there is a hidden tax on that currency. Just let me, I don't. Man, if I had to, I'd call up Lakers GM immediately. Like, bro, Rob, what are you doing, man? Today, we aren't talking about the players. We're talking about the people who tell us about the players. We're looking at the access trap, the invisible contract where a reporter gets the scoop in exchange for their silence on the truth. On our first ever episode of Casual Takes in a casual place. You feel me? Just casual on this sort of side and more casual on this. You feel me? Alright, I'm doing too much. For decades, sports journalism was the toy department. Editor, holy shit. Editors thought, who cares if a beat reporter is friends with the coach? It's just a game. But as we enter 2026, that excuse doesn't work anymore. Frankly, that excuse hasn't worked in so long. Like, actually so long. Since like the 90s, bro. If the reporters ain't no... Man, since the 80s, if the reporters ain't know nobody, you're just terrible at your job. Like, they had to get in there, bro. Like, before it was just newspapers and stuff. Nowadays it's TV, Instagram, Twitter. It's everything. The reporters gotta be on it. As scholars Oates and Pauley 2012 argue, in sports journalism as moral and ethical discourse, sports are the primary way we talk about race, labor rights, and power in America. When a reporter is too close to a team, they aren't just missing a story, they are distorting a cultural narrative. Think about the NBA. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. When a reporter carries water for a team owner, they're helping a billionaire manipulate public opinion. That's not a toy. That is propaganda. Propaganda, you feel me? I'm telling people they need to open their ears. You can't really trust the big reporters nowadays. You really can't. I mean, you can take what they say at face value. Once you really get into it, most of the time they're talking nonsense. They're just talking nonsense. Some of them are good at what they do. They just talk factual statements. But if we're getting into the big names, I'll go into later, sometimes they just be talking out their neck, man. The watchdog concept from English 2024 highlights that while sports journalism is becoming more professional, the watchdog role is still being declawed by the need for credentials. If you ask the wrong question in a post-game presser, you might not get a credential next season. That is the definition of an accountability crisis. To make that simpler, NBA reporter sits down. Hey, Anthony Edwards, how big is it? They're immediately getting fired. they're immediately, if it's like a big news station, they're getting fired. If it's like, say, House of Highlights or Overtime, things like mostly TikTok channels and whatnot, it's fine. They mostly focus on things that are low key hilarious as well. So when they do stuff like that, it's usually fine. Now, let's talk about the loudest voice in the room. I don't think I need to name him, but I'm gonna name him anyway. Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. is a fascinating case study because he doesn't just report the news. That man at this point in time is the news. He is the news. There are more viral clips of him saying outlandish and hilarious and and frankly insane things more than him actually reporting about the news. His job isn't even to report about what the players are doing at this point. It's just to bring in ratings from all the nonsense that he's saying. Stephen A. often cites his personal relationship with stars like Chris Paul or LeBron James. But look at what happens when that access is threatened. Remember, he had a feud with Kevin Durant. For for some reason, no one knows why. He had a feud with Kevin Durant. Smith once looked directly into the camera on First Take and issued a warning. He said, and I quote, "You do not want to make an innie out of me." Hold up. He said, and I quote, "You do not want to make an enemy out of me," to Kevin Durant, in NBA Hall of Famer, future NBA Hall of Famer. Stephen A. Smith said that. Brother, Stephen A., what are you talking about? Let's not talk about how Stephen A. once critiqued LeBron on being a parent, being a father. And then LeBron was like, "Hey, bro." LeBron went up to him, was like, "Hey, bro, don't say that shit ever again. I'ma smack you. I'ma smack you," because he was low key talking crazy to Bron. He was low key talking crazy. Now this isn't journalism. These are threats. It suggests that if a player doesn't give Smith the access he wants, Smith will use his massive platform to tear them down. Stephen A. really can't do that. Like I don't know where he gets this idea that he has that much power. Nowadays, people think he's low key a joke, but that's neither here nor there. This is what Rojas Torrijos 2021 calls a lack of specialized codes. In a normal newsroom, a reporter threatening a source would be fired. At ESPN, it's a viral clip, which is more. It's sports news. Gotta bring in the clicks. Gotta bring in the money. No. Most people won't really know this, but there was a rivalry between Woj and Shams. If you're the fan of the NBA, you know Woj, you know Adrian Wojnarowski, and you know Shams Charania. They right now, Shams was always on the back. Shams was always on the back burner. Woj was that guy. When Woj was dropping some information, it was 100% true, and it was always something crazy. But Woj retired recently, so now it's all about Shams. But they used to be in a race. They used to be in a constant race to be first. But to be first, you have to be like pretty nice to the agents. If an agent gives Shams a scoop, does Shams then owe that agent a favor? Does he have to frame that agent's client in a better light during a contract dispute? This is the Axis trap in real time. Or bring Woj back. Woj bombs. There's only ever been one. Shams recently has just been teasing us about Giannis. It's not really happening, Giannis. We can't blame Shams for that. But ain't not really happening. Craziest thing, I'm not gonna lie. Shams bomb all time might be higher than Woj because no one was expecting that Luka trade, like at all. Now let's pivot to the man who changed the game from a digital side, Bill Simmons, aka the self-proclaimed sports guy. Simmons proved that you could be a homer, a biased fan, and still be a massive success. But Simmons' career is a roadmap of what happens when you try to hold the powerful accountable while they're, paying your bills. In 2014, Simmons called NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell a liar on his podcast. He dared ESPN to fire him for it. And what did they do? They suspended him. Why? ESPN pays the NFL billions of dollars to broadcast the sport. What are they gonna do? Not do that, brother. I'm surprised they didn't just send people to his house. And, I don't know. Simmons was held accountable by his bosses, but not for being wrong. He was held accountable for being too honest about a business partner, which, to be frank, is true. Buzzelli and Billings 2022 point out that when the fun of the game is stripped away, we see that sports media is often just a marketing arm for the leagues. This is also true. Now Simmons owns The Ringer, works with Spotify and FanDuel. He has a new boss. And guess what that is? Gambling. The new boss is in the spreads and the parlays. Now that's where the money's at. That's a whole nother. Gambling is a whole nother conversation. So if the reporters won't hold themselves accountable, and the networks won't, who will? We need what Rojas Torrijos and Roman Vegas 2021 proposed. An independent platform for sports media accountability. We need a mandatory discourse. If Stephen A is friendly with a player, he says it before the segment. We don't need Stephen A to just lying to us like he usually does. But that's neither here nor there. B. Access protections. No team should be allowed to pull a credential just because a reporter asks a tough question. That'd be crazy. They're just getting fired because you asked the question. And C. A third-party watchdog. We need more people like the creators on Reddit or independent, bloggers like the new you got Club 250 with Jeff Teague. You got Mike Korzemba. You got Kenny, King of the Fourth Quarter, with his podcast. You got who else? We got one of my favorites right now, Low, Legend of Winning, or the Low Lights as he goes by right now. That man's hilarious. But even NBA players are starting their own podcasts and whatnot. They're low-key more reliable than journalists themselves. Carmelo got one. Watch the Carmelo one. I want you to remember this before I sign out. In 2023, NBA superstar Damian Lillard was looking for a trade. Every sports fan was glued to their phone. One man, Stephen A. Smith, shouting on First Take talking about inside sources. At the same time, Bill Simmons is on his podcast breaking down the real reason the trade wasn't going through. But here's the question we never ask. When these guys get a scoop, what do they have to give? What do they have to give up to get it? They have to promise a GM something. They agree to get rid of something. Did they slide them $13 million under the table? We don't know. But as Kanye said, I guess we'll never know. Good God, why did I do that? Hey, thank you for taking time out of your day. Listen to me ramble about, sports journalism, mainly the NBA. I don't really keep up with the NFL like that, so I don't know much about what goes on. But thank you for listening to Casual Takes in a Casual Place with your casual man, Angela Rosa. I'm out. Deuces.